You know, Patty, sometimes after 7.5 years of being on YouTube, I kind of question why we do it.
I know, we do. We do
And
often.
and then you have a moment like we had just recently,
Yes.
and it becomes crystal clear why
Why
we
we
do
do it.
what we do.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I thought we'd talk about it in this
Okay.
week's episode of Travels with Delaney.
The podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back. My name's Patrick.
I'm Patty.
And we are joined by Mr. Truman, who is licking my
He
hand.
is on fire.
And you got Bess, and she's
I
behaving
got
like a
sweet baby girl.
perfect young lady.
Yes, I got the sweet
Truman
baby.
sometimes is a little rough and ready.
Rough and Ready Rudy. That's what his dad's name was.
That was his dad's name, and now we know why.
We know exactly why.
Although technically that was Bess's dad.
but I
So I'm
think
starting to think Mom was rough and ready
Mom
too.
might have been a little, I guess.
Rowdy.
Yeah. And Bess's mom's more mellow because she is definitely mellow.
Yeah. If you're new to our podcast, we're just some 50-somethings trying to make our way through life.
Yeah.
And
Teachers to boot. And
yeah, we've been RVing now for 19 years.
that is crazy.
Started in I think it was about a 13-foot teardrop.
It was so cute.
And we went through a series of
Oh,
RVs,
yeah.
all the way up to a 35-foot fifth wheel, and then all the way back down to a 18-foot
Yeah.
teardrop. And now we're back into a 33-foot fifth wheel.
And love it.
And this bad boy is going to become our home in the
Yeah.
next probably 9 months.
Yeah, it will.
So we are not currently full-time RVers, but we're going to be.
We're going to be. Yes.
And making a career change in
Yep.
our lives.
A new road,
And
a
new
new
path.
path.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
new adventures.
but that's not what we came here to talk about.
No, we came
But
here
I
to
just thought if
talk
somebody
about-
new finds us and they're like, who are these people? We're nobodies.
Yeah, I just a regular Joe.
You know what I always tell people when they meet us and they're like, oh, it's so nice to finally meet you. You know, I've
Like,
been watching
why?
videos. I'm like, why? I'm just a guy with an iPhone. Shoot some video.
Yeah, it's so sweet. when they
Figured
get
out
so
how to
excited.
edit an iMovie,
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
So, anyway, we're going to talk
digress.
about why I do you
What
know,
we do.
what we do, YouTube and all that.
Yep.
But before we do, we have to do another exciting round of this or that.
Okay. Dun, 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 dun,
You know
dun.
Jim does that for you. You don't actually have to
I
sing it. All right, I just wanted to make sure.
Tick tock, tick tock.
So
Okay,
Patty,
I'm ready. okay.
when we are on the road with our RV,
Okay.
you get thirsty,
I do.
and I pull off,
Uh-huh.
and the place where I'm getting gas,
Yep.
you have your choice between the following two beverages.
All right.
And I want to know which one are you going for?
Okay.
Diet Mountain Dew,
Okay.
Mango Dragon Fruit Refresher from Starbucks.
Oh, this is just hands down super easy.
Oh.
I love them both. Every now and then, I got to get my Mountain Dew diet fix.
Right.
That's one of my go-to, especially when it's really, really cold drink. But man, if I have a choice with Starbucks, is where I'm going.
The
I'm
Mango
going
Dragon.
for the Mango Dragon Fruit made with water.
Okay. But even if you were really tired, because, sometimes on travel days,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm so tired, I didn't sleep well
Yeah,
last
true
night.
that.
And you like that hit of
I need a little
of dew.
caffeine because I don't drink coffee.
Because there's no caffeine in the Mango Dragon
No.
Fruit Refresher.
And I usually go with water to make it less calories than the lemonade that they make it normally with. But
All right, I was just curious.
I
You'd still, if there is a Starbucks in that gas station,
I'm going there.
You're going there regardless.
I'm going there regardless.
You're just going to be happy and tired all
I
at
am
the same
just going
time.
to fall asleep in the truck, like I usually do.
Yeah.
I'm not a good writer anymore.
Man, I thought this was going to be a really tough one because she loves her Diet
I
Mountain
do.
Dew, especially if she's tired.
It's when I'm tired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, but she does. Obviously, you love the Mango Dragon
I
Fruit
do.
Refresher from Starbucks.
It's
even
my
though-
thing.
The weird
That's
thing
my
about
jam.
you. This is the weird thing about you.
Weird about me?
Yes.
There's one thing. That's weird?
Starbucks is a coffee company,
Yeah.
and you
What
don't
are you
like
saying?
you don't like coffee.
What's your point?
and yet you probably spend more money at Starbucks than
I have
most
cut
coffee
back
drinkers.
on my Starbucks trips.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's just kind of. I just find it fascinating. I mean,
I don't like coffee.
Yeah.
But I will
I-
say, sometimes when you have those fall beverages, like you had one the other day, and
uh,
I took a little sip of it, and man, that had some coffee in it, but it wasn't overpowering coffee,
Right.
and I think I could drink that.
that was the pecan crunch oat milk latte.
It was like a dessert.
That thing was perfect because I'm not
it's
a
not
big.
overly sweet. It was good.
That's what I don't like. Like if I will try usually one a pumpkin spice latte every year, but it's just so sickening sweet.
Well, and their frappuccinos, I love them. Especially we used to get those chocolate ones.
Right.
But they're too sweet. It's too much.
And this new one that they've done, it's just enough sweetness, just a hint of sweetness. And then the pecan flavor really came through for me.
Now, thinking about your drink, and it just hit me.
Yeah.
Which would you prefer, that one or the one from Gideon's that had the peanut butter coffee thing?
Honestly, now, don't get me wrong. And for those of you going, what's Gideon's? Gideon's is a cookie company in Orlando, Florida that has a locate. The original location is downtown. The other one's at Disney Springs.
Yeah.
They do
People
this.
line up for these
They
cookies.
do this peanut butter ice coffee.
It is. I can drink
Patty
that
doesn't
down.
drink coffee. She gets her own Gideon's peanut butter ice coffee.
I could drink that. It tastes so good. Which makes me think there's not a lot of coffee in it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough call because it is a little on the sweeter side.
Yeah. Okay.
So part
You'd
of
probably
it,
go with the Starbucks.
but
one.
now I got like the
urge
taste
for it, right?
for that peanut because that peanut butter.
It is
I don't.
so
I have tried to
smooth.
recreate that.
It's
and
hard. I don't know what they put in there.
I don't either.
But it's good. So yeah.
All right. Well, we didn't come here to talk about beverages. So we've been doing YouTube now since June of 2017. So this coming June 2025, it'll be 8 years on YouTube.
Right.
And
I
YouTube,
can't believe that.
I'll just be honest, YouTube has become a struggle.
It's become a struggle bus because I think you kind of get burnt out.
I'm kind of burned out. I've done it.
You feel like you've went through all the topics, all the things you can do, and it's like repetitive, and then you get. Go ahead.
Our channel's not growing.
Yeah, that's also part of it.
You know, you don't see any real growth.
You don't see like what's the point anymore.
Right. We get minimal views on our videos, and it's just kind of like
two old fuddy-duddies doing YouTube. People.
And I think a lot of that. I mean, I don't want to get into a whole discussion about why, but I think a little of it is. When we started, there were other RV YouTube channels. There was Less Junk, More Journey. KYD had just started. But there weren't as many as there are today. Today there is a ridiculous number of people doing YouTube.
Yes.
So it kind of dilutes the views.
Yep.
And honestly, people just aren't watching as much RV YouTube as they did during the pandemic when we really blew up.
Right.
So I think it's a combination. But recently, I was reminded
why we do it.
Why we do it. And that's because we just recently hosted our 2024 homecoming camp out here at Happy Acres Campground in Angola, Indiana.
Right.
And there were 12 sites booked for this camp out. I would say some of the people who came we've met before. They're friends of ours. We have,
and I think that was part of it because a lot of these folks we've met before, they're now more like friends.
Right.
And it's not like before when we first started and you're meeting people and they're so excited to meet you, but you really don't know them. Well, we know these people.
Right.
And most of them, there were some new ones, and we may have some new friends now, but it was just kind of like a big friend party.
And it reminded me of why we do what we do. And so, you had Rob and Deb who drove all the way from Massachusetts.
Don't forget Mittens.
And Mittens.
Mittens is their puppy.
I mean, that's like 1,100 miles, I think, or something.
They came to see us. Isn't that crazy? And then you have folks from Iowa.
Yeah, you got Dave and Natalie drove from Iowa. Doug and Cheryl drove from Missouri. But then we had people from Indiana. We had people from right here in Angola.
Gail from Michigan. And
the Glicks. And
there's another folks from Michigan. They were we talked with a lot. She wasn't feeling great.
Oh, Arnie and Mary?
Well, they came just to visit.
Oh, the Olingers, yeah. And so I feel like I'm going to end up missing somebody because, the Crowleys were here. And I'm trying to remember everybody's name.
I know.
I feel bad. I'm going to miss somebody. I should have my list. But
we had so many.
And for those of you going, what is a camp out?
Well, people come to camp with us.
And the reason we here's the thing, and I feel like a lot of YouTubers do campouts now, but I feel like we pioneered the camp out.
I think so because a lot of folks were doing meetups.
Right. In 2018, our channel had just gotten going. We
Right.
might have been at 2,000, maybe 3,000 subscribers, and some of our subscribers were saying, "You need to do a meetup. You need to," because that was the big thing back in
Right. Like you
2017.
meet at a restaurant or
Yeah.
something.
And my fear was we would pick a location. I would call a restaurant, say we're going to have a meetup.
And
No one would show
up.
And I just thought, oh, that would be embarrassing.
Yeah.
And so, but I kept getting requests, and I said to Pat, I go, let's do this. Let's just go camping someplace and tell people they're welcome to join us. And our very first camp out was at Cove Lake State Park down in Tennessee.
Yes. And we had a big turnout.
We did. So what we did, though, was we booked a site.
Yep.
And I remember we got on our YouTube video and we said, hey,
we're going to be there.
We're going to be at Cove Lake on these dates. We booked site number, whatever. And if you want to join us for the weekend, we'd love to have you join us. Because I didn't even call the state park to tell them what we were doing.
And I think we were shocked, weren't we, about how many people actually showed up?
Yeah, I think we had about the same. I think like 12 or 13 sites were booked. That one was actually a 3-nighter.
Yes.
4 days,
Right.
3 nights. And if you remember, we tried to provide most of the meals ourselves.
It was a lot. Yeah.
Oh my God, we were so exhausted by the end of it. But we met amazing people.
Had so much fun. Yeah.
And so that was in 2018.
Right.
And then in 2019, we said, you know what, we're going to do more of these because we were so impressed that people actually wanted to camp with us.
Didn't we do 3 that year?
Let's think about this. We did
Iowa, Oregon, Virginia.
Did we do Virginia that year? It might have been.
I think so.
Was that 2019?
I think so.
You are right. Yeah, we did 3. So I remember we went to Iowa. We had a big camp out in Iowa.
Yeah.
Then we continued on. A couple weeks later, we had
Oregon,
a nice size one in Oregon, which just blew me away.
How many people there? Yeah.
Yeah. And then that fall, we had our biggest ever, and way too big.
It was too big.
There was like over 50 people.
And it rained.
It rained all weekend. And in fact, that was the one where we got shut down by the Rangers.
Yeah.
So we always say that, our parties get so rowdy they have to shut us down.
Yeah.
So we, the story was when we got there was a fire ban, which we knew of.
There was.
And I had asked it when we checked in. I said, "Are we allowed to use a propane fire pit?" And the person working the desk said, "Absolutely.
Sure, yeah.
You just can't burn wood."
Okay.
And
so, cool.
And then I told her what we were doing. She said, "Hey, there's a big field, like big grassy area. You can go out there." So, first night, opening night, we always do like a meet and greet where everybody gets to know each other.
Right.
And we used to do it where everybody bring a favorite bottle of wine or a growler of beer, and we just all share. And then we would provide cheese, crackers, and sausage.
Right.
So everybody's out in this big grassy area. We've got 2 propane fire pits going, big circle.
It was chilly. You needed those fire pits.
Yeah, it was chilly. People were just mingling, drinking their wine, a little cheese, a little cracker.
And I knew something was going wrong because we had the tab at the time, and I think I checked on the pups, and then I was walking back down to the park, and this gal who wasn't in our group was walking by me, and she asked me, she goes, "Are you with this group?" And I said, "Yeah." And then she was like, "You can't have fires here." I said, "They're not fires. I'm thinking they're not wood fires."
Right.
And she was not happy. And I think she was the narc.
So I am just mingling, hanging out with people, and all of a sudden I see fire pits going off. And I'm like, what the heck? And I see a park ranger.
Yeah.
So I walk over, and at this point it's starting to get dark out and it's cold.
And once those fire pits, it was cold.
Yeah.
It was.
So
yeah.
I walk up. I said, "Sir, I'm sorry.
What's
what's going on?" And he says, "I hate to do this, but there's a fire ban. You have to shut the
fire pits off."
And I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry," because I never want to intentionally break
and
rules.
we had asked because we wanted to make sure.
Right, and he said, "Well, the people that work the office are like volunteers.
They didn't give you the right information.
They didn't give you the right information." And and he goes, "I am very sorry about this."
But he said he was on the other side of the park and he got this call.
Yeah. So the call he gets from the office is, or from whoever called it in, that there is a big bonfire in a drunken party. And this is what he says to me. He goes, "No disrespect, but I get over here. You got your 2 little propane fire pits and a bunch of old people sipping wine and having cheese and crackers." I go, "No offense taken."
No offense.
Because he was expecting to show up to like this massive bonfire,
party.
like drunken brawl.
Yeah, and it wasn't.
And he felt so bad about it that he ended up offering us the pavilion at no charge for the whole weekend.
Which was very sweet.
Yeah, because it ended up raining and
it poured.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So that was 2019.
Yep.
2020, the year of COVID, we had one camp out. We had 2 scheduled.
Right.
We did go ahead and have the one in West Yellowstone.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest camp out ever.
Weird.
We couldn't have our group meals.
No.
Well, if you remember, what we did was
people made their own food.
Everybody made their own food.
And there was like an open area.
And we sat in a big circle.
Everyone kept their distance.
Equally
we spaced us out. And you still could talk, but you couldn't.
We had a great time, though. If you remember,
did.
we went and saw a lot of cool stuff.
We went and did some cool things, and we had our masks, and we all kept our distance, and but we just couldn't do what we do. What we did and what we do now.
Right.
So, yeah.
And then
it was weird.
And then we were supposed to have one that fall in Vermont, and we had to cancel because Vermont had restrictions.
Well, and it was weird because we thought, well, if we could go, but we're like, okay, if we got to quarantine for 14 days.
They required us to quarantine.
Yeah, we're like, okay, we got to go back to work. So that's not going to work. So we
canceled that one.
Mm-hmm.
2021, I believe we held no campouts.
I don't think we did any because it was still COVID time and things were still kind of locked up.
Yeah, and we just like, you know what, we don't want to go through restrictions.
And it was weird. Yeah.
And then we came back in 2022.
Yep.
And we did, was it 20?
Wasn't it here?
Was 2022 here?
Wasn't it up on the hill? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so cold.
That's right.
You pulled out the first kilt.
That's right. That's how we got to know Angie and Kevin here at Happy Acres. I had reached out to see if we could, in the fall of 21.
Up in the skybox, everyone camped up there, basically.
Did we do one anyway? No, I guess not. So, yeah, that was it. That year we did it here.
Right.
And then in 2023, we took it back on the road, and we did our first ever caravan, where we started in Ellsworth, Maine at Forest Ridge.
Right.
Our friends Jeff and Lynn, wonderful hosts for
it was
4
awesome.
nights.
Yep.
And then most of the group headed south for the
Booth
second
Bay.
part. And then we had a few people join us in Booth Bay that weren't in Ellsworth.
Right.
And then we had a second camp out at Booth Bay Brewery.
Right.
And then I believe, came home and had one here that fall.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then that was 2023.
Right.
Was that last year?
I think
that
so.
was last year.
I think so.
I think so.
I think so.
Oh my gosh, I'm so confused. I think that's when it was.
All the years are blending.
And then this year we decided to have one here.
Yep.
Well, now that can't be right.
I don't know.
Because we had 2 at Happy Acres last year.
No. Yes, we did. We had 2.
Yeah, we had 2.
So anyway.
So it would have been it must have been in 22 we went to Maine.
Yeah.
23 we had 2 here.
We did.
We did a spring one and a fall one.
Yep.
And this year we decided just to do one because we weren't going to be traveling. And so
well, and sometimes what we do here, people come and camp with us anyway.
Right.
Like Cinco de Mayo.
Now that we live here, basically.
People come a lot and they hang out here with us. But the official camp out was just recently.
But
so,
I think what really hit home at our most recent camp out here was some of the people, they were like, one, they kept thanking me for doing it because the thing about a camp out is they're not about us.
No,
they're about bringing a group of like-minded people together for a weekend, meeting new people. They meet each other. Some of them end up camping together in the future.
Right, which is cool to hear because you're like, oh, we're going to go do this and that. I'm like, that's awesome.
Like Gail. Gail ended up mooch docking at Natalie and Dave's house. She would have never met Natalie and Dave if it hadn't been for a camp out. And then when some of them come up and say things like, man, that video you did really helped me out. Mm-hmm. Like that, it hit me during the camp out. Like, this is why I do it.
Yeah.
The views no longer matter. The number of subscribers no longer matter. It's you guys that who leave nice comments and say like, thank you for sharing that information. Versus the comments like, well, you're nothing but a shill for corporations. I'm not. I don't think I'm a shill for any corporation because we don't work with very many companies at all. And the ones we do, I fully believe in. But when you have a camp out and people are saying, you really helped me out, even when they mess with me and they're like, well, Patrick, you cost me a lot of money.
Yes.
But they, Bill Porter,
bad influence.
Bill Porter's still talking to me. I mean, there were 2 people here that said we bought alliances because of you.
Yeah.
Like you, at
Just
least,
like in the
at least
past,
we played a
people
part
say,
in it.
I bought a tab because of you.
Yeah.
And then some of them even talked to me about they missed the midweek updates, and
I know.
so we might need to go back to
We might
those.
need to do those. Maybe not every week because I
No,
don't think our lives are that
they're not that
exciting.
interesting. That was part of the problem. Is we were like, okay, nothing's really happening.
But I don't know if you heard that a lot over the weekend. I heard like, I miss your midweek update. I
Yeah.
remember when you used to do mail. We don't get any mail anymore, so we
don't.
can't do mail
Yeah.
updates. Nobody sends us mail anymore like they used
Well,
to.
and then folks
But
would do their recording of the midweek
update,
update,
yeah.
and we would use that in the video instead of us saying it.
Yeah, and
that
I
silly
think
thing.
I've always worried about views and subscribers when in essence it was
Was
never
never about
it was
that.
never about a number. It was about you, who end up becoming subscribers and
Yeah.
ultimately become our friends.
Well, yeah,
Um,
because they like to know, they got to know us, and it's kind of like their way of kind of getting to talk to us, even though we're not talking to them.
right.
They keep, they're interested, which is very nice and very kind.
I mean, so many of our
Yeah.
friends today would have never been our friends had it not been for you
Oh, I
two.
know.
We would never know Mark and Karen.
Never,
And,
never.
which
Or
means-
Gail,
Or Gail.
or Linda Allen, or any of these folks.
Yeah, I mean, you think about all the
Mhm.
people over there, and we can't name it. We can't.
I can't name them.
Stacy
Stacy and Chris and
You know who we would know though if we didn't have a YouTube channel? Jeff and Shelley, our friends out in Seattle, who
Yeah.
unfortunately we have not got to see.
No.
and I don't know when we're going to
but
get.
they're
to
only
see them.
friends of ours because they like Truman.
Yeah.
They're Truman's
So
friends.
a funny story from the Yellowstone campout. Jeff and Shelley came
Yeah.
to the campout, and so people are sitting around talking about their favorite TWD episode and when they started watching TWD.
Because we met them in the summer
And-
of 2019.
Right, and so somebody says to Jeff or to Shelley,
yeah.
like, well, what's your favorite? And she goes, well, honestly, I really don't watch them. And they're like, what do you mean you don't watch them?
Yeah.
And she's like, well,
We're only here because
we're
of
only
Truman.
here because of Truman. And so the story is, we did have our YouTube
We
channel in
did.
2019,
Yeah.
or it might have been 18. I don't
No,
remember.
he was born in 19.
Okay. So it
So-
would have been in 19,
Yeah.
right after he's a puppy.
Yeah,
So
he was
we're
just a
out.
baby.
We're out in the Seattle area.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We're at a Starbucks. We're
We
sitting
are.
outside, and Jeff and Shelley and their daughter
Yeah, come out.
come out, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, she's so cute."
He is
This
so
is when we just
adorable.
had baby Truman.
He was itty bitty.
And so we're telling them like, "Oh, he's a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel." We're telling them all about. So then I remember Jeff said, "Oh, do you care if we sit down?" Because there was a table outside
Uh-huh.
beside us. We're like,
and
"Yeah,
they're
sure."
loving on the puppy.
And like an hour later,
Yeah.
Jeff and Shelley are inviting us to join them for the 4th
Fourth
of
of July.
Their family.
uh-huh.
And I remember saying like, "Okay." Like, who does that? Who,
Well, and I
who
remember
meets a
that's
stranger?
when we
at-
drove away that day because we were doing laundry and we got a Starbucks. Go figure. And and we had internet there,
Right.
Because we were checking on things.
Because
and-
they had told us a campground because
Right.
they had rented a house or a cabin
Right.
or something on the coast, and they told us a campground we could go to.
Really nice.
And I go, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go because they're going to be at their house, and if we meet up with them, great. And if we don't, and then we did. We ended up meeting up with Jeff and Shelley again. Had a great time.
It was
spent,
awesome.
Did we spend 2 or 3 4th of Julys with them?
Two in
Two.
a row, I think.
Yeah, and we became their friends. But and I think I did mention at some point that we had a YouTube channel.
Right.
But so the joke has always been that Jeff and Shelley
Yeah.
are really Truman's friends because I said to Jeff at the camp out in West Yellowstone, I remember saying, Jeff, do you realize that if I didn't have Truman, you never would have met me? And he goes, no, because I don't walk up to strangers at Starbucks. And but it was because of Truman.
Yeah.
And so. Yeah, so that's the story behind Jeff and Shelley. And to this day, I don't think they probably watch our videos. Now, Shelley follows us on
Yeah.
Instagram. We usually exchange Christmas
Yeah.
cards.
Mhm.
And I hope someday we get back
Sometimes
onto the
when
West.
we haven't done them in a long time, but live streams,
Yeah,
she would pop in to get her
But-
Truman fix. So.
But again,
yeah.
I guess we would have met Jeff and Shelley
Yeah.
if we didn't do a YouTube channel.
Sure.
But so many of our friends, like the Mark and Karens of the
Yes.
world, we never would have met
Jim and Abe.
Jim and Abe.
Yep.
And I mean, again, we can't. I apologize that
We
if you
can't
didn't.
name everybody.
If you're listening to this and you're thinking, go ahead, say my name, say my name.
Well, we're two tired teachers.
Yeah, we're tired tonight as we're recording, and
Yeah.
we can't think of everyone.
One's name.
But
yeah.
just know, all of you who have come to a camp out or met us along the way,
right.
you're the reason that we continue to do these, even though our channel is dying in terms of
It
views,
is.
and even though this podcast doesn't get a lot of listens
Right.
or views, just know that this past weekend when we did our camp out,
It was so much fun.
You reminded me why I do it.
Yep.
It's not about a number. It's
No.
about people.
And it was just great fun. Everyone
Oh
got
my
along
gosh. I think
awesome. We played a game. It was so much fun. And then we had live music. We had a band
we had a band. Oh
and
my gosh,
they
they were
were
amazing.
awesome and everybody just loved it.
So for those of you wondering, like, what goes on at these campouts?
Yeah.
So Friday night is always the kickoff. This year originally I'd planned to do a bonfire, but we played trivia this year, and we had a dessert party. So we always do something on Friday night. So we had desserts catered in,
Right.
and then we played this trivia game where it's
But that
more
was
like
Saturday, sweetie.
I thought it was on Friday night.
No, it was just supposed to be the bonfire and then desserts.
You're wrong.
But we started.
I love getting to say this.
We didn't do it wrong.
Yeah, you're
The
wrong.
next day, Saturday, because we toured the trailers and we played the trivia in the afternoon.
You're right. So we did. Okay, you're right on the trivia.
Right.
But the camp out kicked off on Friday night with the dessert party.
Yes.
Yes, that is right.
I
You're
agree
right.
with that part.
Okay. So we're
and we were just in the pavilion having fun talking.
This is where the trolls are going to come out and be like, you two just talk over each other, and I can't stand listening to you. Well, don't listen to us.
Yeah, and the fire. It was a cooler night, and we
just stayed in the pavilion with our desserts and
because there's those heaters in there.
Yeah.
And we were just happy in there. So
and then
it was
Saturday
good.
morning we had the world famous Tom Donuts and coffee
and juice,
in the pavilion.
Yeah.
And then at 10 o'clock we did. Well, it was more like 10:30.
Like a parade of campers.
We walked around to those that wanted to show off their campers. So we got to see lots of different campers.
Yep.
We got to see Dave and Natalie's Airstream.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm trying to remember who else we looked at.
Well, we got to see
Bill and Val's 29RL, which is ours. We started here.
The folks from Massachusetts showed theirs.
Rob and Deb, Rod and Deb, not Rob. Rod and Deb
with mittens.
Showed their Tab 400.
No, they didn't have their tab, sweetie.
Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting they got rid of their tab. It's their Grand Design AIM.
What are you drinking?
Bourbon.
Are you okay?
Bourbon. Anyway.
Listen to me. I was there.
Anyway. All right. And then at 2 o'clock we played the trivia.
We did, and that
was fun. Which is like a Family Feud type thing. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And Amy and Mike did not win this time.
No.
They had won like the last 2 times we played trivia.
She was like, we didn't win.
I know. And then
we had a nice dinner.
We always then have a catered dinner anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards we had a band play.
Yes, and the Dan Smith
trio,
but
which
really
was actually a quattro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 4. Man, were they good.
They were awesome.
And then Sunday morning, it's been a tradition since the very first camp out. I make breakfast for everyone.
In your kilt.
And the kilt tradition started a few years ago. And we don't have time to explain that. But I do wear a kilt. I make pancakes, sausage, scrambled eggs for everyone. You come
juice
and coffee.
Yep.
And then most people say their goodbyes on Sunday.
Yep.
A few stayed over for the after party.
We had the after party too.
Sunday night, we went to the 6 on James.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marty, for all that you do for us.
Yes,
Marty owns
you.
the 6 on James, our local restaurant and bourbon bar.
Yep.
Where they have, I don't know, like 1,700 different bottles of bourbon.
1,000,000.
And I don't the million might be an exaggeration. 1,700 is not.
It's a lot.
A lot of bourbon.
Lots.
But there was a group of, 7 of us that went over there.
We had a good
Sunday night. So that's what a camp out is. It's just bringing people together who
it's just like friends hanging out.
Yeah. And we just have a good time.
Yeah.
And for those of you wondering, like, I want to come to a camp out. And because the question I got all week, I don't know if you got this.
Yes, they kept asking me, "Are you going to do this again? This is probably your last one, right?" I'm like,
no.
I don't know yet. I don't know.
And I told several people, no, there will be a 2025 camp out.
We'll do it in September.
It probably will be in September.
We
again,
like September.
Right here in Angola, Indiana. We like to call this our homecoming because this is our hometown.
Yep.
And so there will be a camp out next year. So if you're interested in joining us, just keep listening to the podcast.
When we get the official date, we'll let you know.
Yeah, my guess is it's probably going to be the same weekend.
Yeah, we like it near mid to late September.
Yeah, it's usually around the 20th of September, depending on how the weekend falls. It's a good weekend for the campground because we're a little slower.
And usually the trees start to change, and you can get kind of in the fall mood.
Right.
And
there's a lot going on.
And there's a
lot
going around on here because there was Johnny Appleseed Festival in Fort Wayne. People could have went to, but no one did.
Sunday was the seaplane flying over at Pokagon State Park.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering, what does this cost? It's basically I think this year it was your campsite fee, whatever site you chose,
Yep.
plus $100. Well, let me rephrase that. It was $50 per person, and that $50 we make no money on these, nor does Angie for that matter. She probably loses money.
I think so.
Because that includes the dessert party on Friday night. It includes the catered dinner on Saturday, the Tom's Donuts on Sunday, the pancake breakfast. I'm sorry, the Tom's Donuts on Saturday, oh my God.
What are you doing?
The pancake breakfast. It just includes a lot of food, folks. And a really nice welcome gift.
Yeah.
That Angie goes
Yes, that was so nice.
above and beyond to provide everything.
This year they got like they call it a sling backpack.
And they got coffee mugs. Each person got a coffee mug that said Travels with Delaney Camp Out, Happy Acres 2024.
Yep.
Last year she had done like yard games.
Yes.
Like
it was yard dice or something,
yeah,
right?
and a small cornhole set.
Yeah.
And Angie, I can't thank Angie and Kevin
enough they're so nice
for allowing us to do it here. So anyway, if you're interested, just wait. Details will be coming early 2025, and you'll be able to book. And if you'd like to join us, we'd love to have you.
We'd love to have you here. It's fun.
And again, to all of you, I know I didn't list everybody, but to all of you who attended this year, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming.
For kind of reminding me
just make
what's important.
Yeah. It kind of opened our eyes to what really matters, I guess.
Exactly.
Yep.
So.
It's our people.
All right. We need to wrap this up, Patty.
Yep, wrap it up.
And put a bow on it and call it a day. Thank you to all of you for taking time out of your day to listen to us.
Yep.
And a huge shout out to Mr. Jim Kuzman.
Thank you, Jim.
He's our producer. He's our editor. More importantly, he's just our friend.
He's a good friend.
Yep. And he's the one that makes sure these things always sound really good, assuming I don't delete Patty's audio track like I did a couple weeks ago.
Usually it's pretty easy for him, but he has to do some work. So we didn't. Sorry,
Thank you, Jim. Thank you to all of you. And until next time, we'll see you.
On down the road.
Bye.
Travels with Delaney. We'll see you on down the road.